is coming to you from the beautiful metaverse, and more particularly from beautiful Danville, Illinois, homeland of the Corellian tradition. And this is Midday with Reverend Don. And as you know, if you follow Midday with Reverend Don, no matter what platform you're watching us on, if you type your questions or comments on that platform, they'll show up here in the chat room, and we can talk with you directly. And that's particularly interesting today because today we have a guest. And I'd like to introduce to you Lisa McSherry. And Lisa is an old friend and the author of Travel Magic, the new book about to come out, currently available for pre-order, and also many books already well-known and well-loved, including Virtual Pagan and Virtual Pagan 2.0, and wonderful books. So how are you, Lisa?
I'm great, thank you very much. And I should tell your listeners / watchers that I'm actually here through the magic of the metaverse from Braga, Portugal, which is the northern part of Portugal. So we are 6 time zones away from one another, or in some unimaginably large amount of miles or kilometers, depending on your frame.
It's quite exciting.
It is, actually. It is.
Now, I remember when the best you could have done was a long distance overseas call, and they were nightmares.
Oh, it's wonderful to watch old movies where they have to talk to an operator and say, please get this person, and then you wait hours for you to get a call back to be connected through, and or you read books. I actually just finished a wonderful book about the end of World War II, and the time lag in communications is so crucial to what did and didn't happen at that time. And now we literally live at the speed of light, actually.
We really do. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is part and parcel of the subject matter of your new book, which is traveling the world. So
it's kind of funny. There have been a few people who've said, well, what's the subtitle? What's this book about? And I'm kind of like, well, it's what it says on the tin, quite honestly. It is about magic travel, magic and traveling with magic. And there's no other book like it, literally, in the pagan, eclectic, occult universe that I could find. There's one, Cal Garrison did a book called Witch on the Go from what is now Red Wheel Wiser in about 2002-ish. So, 20 years ago. And it's a very small book, and her focus was much more on the idea that when you leave your home, you are on the go. So, what is it like to have a little magical toolkit in your car, for example, or ways to set your intention before going to work or leaving your home. It's a nice book. It's actually quite wonderful. And I've had it on my shelves for years. But I have wanted for a number of years now to write something much richer and much larger. And so
this book definitely is. We want to say hello to Zila from Dublin, Ireland, who is joining us. Welcome, Zila.
Wonderful city, Dublin. I very much like that place.
So in your book,
too often. Yes.
You tell a lot of stories about your travels, which is very nice. And you share a lot of techniques. I have to say that so far I've been particularly struck by the magic underpants spell.
Yeah. And I'm not going to explain that, so that if y'all want to know what the magic underpants spell is, you must in fact read the book.
And it's well worth it.
It is well worth it. Yes, this is actually this is my 5th book, and it's by far and away my most personal book, because I found myself needing to tell the stories of my magical experiences over the last, I don't know, I've been traveling since I was a little girl. My parents divorced when I was 6-7 years old and lived on opposite sides of the coast. So I did a lot of moving between the East Coast and the West Coast, and having those experiences. And I didn't actually do any international travel until fairly late, like about 20 years ago now, which gives you an idea of how old I am. And we're just going to stop there, although I'm not that funny about it. But I have had amazing experiences and have come to such a richer concept of the sacred and what we might call deity. There are many words for that in out there, and I try not to be too specific so that anyone can put their own framework. The idea that magic can be fun and you can do things with it, like manifest a vacation or bring your spiritual practice with you on the road. So you're not taking a vacation from mundane life. You can take your life with you in a more holistic kind of a way. Zila, the book is in pre-order right now, actually. Sorry, I'm looking at the questions here. And
absolutely.
Yes, it's in pre-orders right now and is due out actually August 2nd. So it's a bit of a Lammas gift for everybody to enjoy.
And you can find that at CorellianPublishing.com and order your copy today.
There you go.
And you will
We're
have
like a well-oiled machine.
Yes. It's a wonderful book.
Thank you.
One of the things I want to say about the book is that it has a lot about travel and travel magic, but it's also very encyclopedic about magic in general. So it's not just travel. If you knew nothing about magic, you could pick this book up and have a pretty good understanding by the end of it. And hello to George in the chat room. Good to see you, George. Of the techniques that you included, which have you found the most frequently useful?
Oh, the basic techniques, or okay.
Whichever you'd like to comment on.
Yeah, thank you. Feel too large, but so it's slightly, sorry, I'm sort of stuttering on this a little bit because I've been a witch for like 40 years. So yeah. I've used these techniques over and over and over again. And of course, they've become very refined and very different now from what I did when I was in my teen years, which frankly was much more about controlling my environment because I was a teenager and the world was not very controllable in many ways. And I would say over time, what I've come to use the most is the practice of mindfulness, which is bringing your focus and your attention to this moment right now to have the fullest experience of this moment. And not necessarily try to process or filter any information that's coming in, but just let yourself be there. I think here's a great story. I went to Newgrange, which is in Ireland, and if y'all haven't been there, you should go. It's astounding on so many levels. It's something like 5,000 years old. It literally took generations to build. So the people who conceived of it and talked everyone else into building it, it wasn't just that they didn't see it, but their children's children's children didn't see it built. I mean, it took forever. And it's an amazing place. At the winter solstice, the light comes through a very particular shaft, and it lights the interior because the rock that they used on the interior, it's like a quartz-like rock, so it glows when the light hits it. Now, most people will not be able to be there at winter solstice. They actually do a lottery. It's too small in a chamber for everyone to be there at sunrise for the 3 days or so that it actually works. But what they've done is they've recreated the lighting when you go there and on a particular kind of a tour. And so you all stand there in a group, they turn the lights off and it's pitch black, pitch black. And then just this tiny little, maybe your eyes are tricking you. Are you actually seeing something? And then the glow gets lighter and lighter, richer and richer. And it finally comes through and hits that back wall, and the whole chamber comes alive. And I am telling you, I am getting goosebumps just remembering it, because in that moment, I felt so very connected to my ancestors in a way that I don't often. My ancestors stood there. Someone upline from me stood there, and I connected to them in that moment. And I cried. I'm not a crier. I cried because I had nowhere to go with all of this emotion and this energy. And it was so hard to remain in that moment because I wanted to start analyzing it and writing about it in my head and all the things we modern people do.
Yeah.
Because connecting to the sacred is so hard to do. It's so not normal. And that was a profound moment for me. That was about 10 years ago, and it really shifted how it further progressed what I've been teasing out with my travel, which was that it was something more than me. It wasn't a vacation to relax and get away from work, drink a lot, be someone else. No, it was a way to connect to something larger as well.
I mean, I've been thinking of asking you for your favorite place you'd visited, but I think you've just told me. That's a beautiful story.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, it's actually really difficult because there are so many beautiful places, and I have not been to so many places. I find myself actually wanting to go back to places I've been to and further my exploration. Like I've been to Italy now like 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even seen the northern part of Italy, the Amalfi Coast of Italy, the southern part of Italy. But I mean, there's just so much to drink deeply of.
Oh, yes.
And I mean, there are whole countries, Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, which are many countries. I have so many things to see. And some places I will not, some places I despair of being able to get to in my lifetime. For example, St. Petersburg, Russia has been on my list since I was a little girl, and I'm not sure I'll get there in my lifetime. We'll see, you know.
You never know. The world can be an unexpected place.
It can.
So we'll hope you have that opportunity. But I obviously know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is, I mean, at least from my point of view, this is why we live many lives. If we don't get it this time, we'll get it next time.
Exactly. Exactly. Very much so. Very much so.
One of the things I've been enjoying about the book is your use of sigil magic.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you could say a few words about that.
I am a late learner of sigil magic, actually. And I have to thank Laura Tempest Zakroff for writing an amazing book that pointed the way and started me learning about them. But when I started adding them into my magical practice, it really opened so many doors. To a point, in fact, actually, where I am not an artist and I'm the person who did the illustrations that are in the book because I felt so strongly about literally doing my personal work and sharing it with everybody. And so, fair warning, folks, I'm not an artist. They are not pretty or perfect, but I hope that they actually invite people to do their own work with it and not feel ashamed of their practice and technique. And in fact, I'm sort of glad you brought that up because I wanted to share a thing that I love working with, which is that I have these tiny little envelopes. Let's see it there. And they're written in a foreign language and they're just a little bit of nothing. I got it in a craft store, but they come with a little blank card. And what I do is I glue these into my book of shadows and I write my wishes, my travel wishes into these special envelopes because they are foreign. They have a little foreign stamp on them. And I write them into my book of shadows and I seal them there. until they come true, in which case I put another kind of a covering over it that has my gratitude, my
How
saying thank you.
wonderful.
So it sort of layers up and everything. But these are beautiful little ways to use sigils, because you draw it out on a scrap piece of paper until you know what you want, and then write it and mail it to yourself, in a sense. And you're mailing it to your future self and bring it back. That's part of the energy that I work with there. I'm actually an incredibly lazy witch. I don't, I think it's one of the reasons I'm a witch instead of, someone more ceremonial, to use a phrase. I am very on the fly. I'm very passive. It's very, let me put this energy out into the universe and something will come back to me. I'm not sure what, but something will come back. And they always kind of flow, in that sense. That's part of my way of hooking into the energy of the universe to do magic. If it requires a lot of effort, I'm probably not going to do it. I mean, I might. I like doing fancy things for the Sabbats, but other than those 8 times a year, yeah, it's got to be a little low key.
I think that's a very sensible attitude.
And actually, it can be a really good, how do I want to put this, warning sign for me. If I'm having to push a little too hard to make something happen, that is one of my little signals from the universe that that's probably not going to work out the way I wanted it to. My trip to Greece a number of years ago was a trip of a lifetime. I've been a fan of Greece since I was a child. I mean, the Greek and Roman myths, why not? I've done the Roman myths, I've done the Etruscans, now it's time for Greece. Yes, cradle of civilization or something. And we had so many obstacles, just like odd little things. And we actually looked at each other about 6 months before this, my husband and I, looked at each other and said, maybe we shouldn't go. We actually said it out loud, which in hindsight, I could, but no, it'll be fine. It's okay. And we did have a good time, but the number of things that went wrong, including me leaving my passport behind on a plane, never to be recovered again, losing more than 1,000 pictures from the first 2 weeks of the trip because the camera card just fritzed on me, and a number of other highly stressful things. It's not Greece's fault. I want to be clear. We weren't supposed to go then. We pushed ahead and tried to do a thing, and boom. So now we got to do it again.
Yes, absolutely.
That's my attitude. It's like, okay, got to do it again sometime. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, well, when the universe is telling you now is not the time, it can be good to listen to.
Yes, it's hard to hear.
We want to say hello to Nicholas in the chat room, and Magical Mermaid in the chat room, and Janet in the chat room, and all the people watching. Thank you for being here. And so with this book, what would you say is, and I know I mean, I'm a great believer in the idea that one size does not fit all. So I'm sure there's more than one answer to this question, but what would you think is the most important thing that most people would get from this book?
A way to make a deeper connection to the universe. I mean, that's if I did it right, that's what I'm doing. I mean, that's really the whole point of it. Is it doesn't have to be a mundane trip. You don't have to leave your spirit behind. And you don't have to spend a fortune to find the sacred. Actually, that's a little bit more subtle in the book, but it's not about, I mean, I've been fortunate to be able to travel from the United States to Europe a number of times, and now I live in Europe, but that's not for everybody. That's deeply privileged on my part. So it's as much about finding the sacred down the road, in one town over. It's I'm actually starting to develop some writings about finding the sacred through travel where you don't leave your home.
Well, that's wonderful.
Because if you can't, for physical, financial, whatever reasons, if you cannot leave your home, you can still travel sacredly and enhance your practice through those ideas. Photo books are wonderful. Uh, Pinterest. Shout out, by the way, I have a Pinterest board where I'm doing nothing but travel related and interesting things. And I hope to use it as an inspiration for myself and for others. Uh, there are the universe, the internet, or the metaverse, as you've said it, is an amazing resource, particularly after the pandemic. So many museums put their entire collection online. And if you hook your computer up to your big screen TV, you can view it larger, as large as sometimes you might see it. I mean, honestly, I will tell you, for example, the Mona Lisa is much better on any screen you look at than in person, because if you can get close to see it, you're not that close. It's
Yeah.
a seriously safeguarded thing. And it's pretty small.
Mhm.
So, young eyes maybe see better than, these do. But look at a good picture and you will actually fall into the magic and the mystery of Leonardo da Vinci, because the painting is amazing. You can't really see it when you're live.
That's a very, very good observation a lot of people would never think of.
Mhm.
And, I've observed also a lot of these famous works of art are much smaller than you would expect.
Yes. Yes.
And
It seems like they're either a little smaller than you expect, or they're like a whole huge 10 by 12 wall and you can't see the top of it.
yes. And, we so rarely think about the context they were originally seen in either.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's a whole life of learning just the symbology that was used in painting throughout, just we'll just pick the Renaissance, make it nice and easy. They had a whole language in their symbols that um, it takes a long time to learn. It
Mhm.
really, really is. I was raised Catholic, so I have little bits of symbols that I can go to. Oh yeah, that's Peter because he's got the crook of like the shepherd, or
Yeah.
that's Saint John the Baptist because there he is in his little lion skin. And my husband was not raised Catholic, so he'll just sit there going, "So why exactly is there a naked lady in the middle of it?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Don't know what the naked lady has to do with St. John, but there she is. So, okay. Oh, that's love. No, wait, no, that's desire. There, I just sort of make things up. But
Naked people did have a tendency to show up in the Renaissance artwork, whether they really were germane or not.
yep.
Kind of
it
like
was
modern artwork.
exactly. Someone paid for it, so you
Mhm.
want something a little zooty to go
Yeah.
somewhere.
Well, I think one of the interesting things is how often someone in that painting is actually a portrait, and you
Oh
only
yeah,
know if you know.
yes. Oh yes, that's fun. And actually, having a really good tour guide or having a good art history book
Yeah.
can really point you in those nice directions. And I have a real fondness for art forgery stories. So it's some of those stories are fun all the way through, because some forgers cannot help but reveal themselves
Yeah.
subtly all the way through. So it's kind of great.
Some of the art forgery stories I found most interesting is where they were absolutely certain it was a forgery until they found out it wasn't.
Yes. Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. And that's always great fun as well.
So this is a wonderful book. It's full of stories like we've been talking about. It's full of magic, magical techniques, magical knowledge, pointers you would never think of. For example, you talk about leaving offerings or not leaving offerings. And one of the
Yeah.
things you point out is that some people like to leave a little bit of hair as a very personal offering.
Mhm.
but you really need to be careful not to leave long hairs because it can be harmful to the animals.
Yes, and I will confess now, live and and recording, I left hair for quite a number of years. And looking back, I am very sorry that I did that because it took a long time. This is new knowledge, so hey, we
Mhm.
all get to learn something. It turns out that hair doesn't break down as easily as you might think. Which the minute you know that, you go, oh yeah, that's right. Because when they exhume dead bodies, oftentimes hair is in fairly good shape, whereas
Yeah.
skin has rotted away. Um, and so it can really get gnarled up. It'll end up in birds' legs, wrapped around their
Hmm.
legs. It can cut off the growth of, if you tie up a hair around a sprig on a bush, you've basically killed the rest of the branch from there forward because it can't grow around it. Little things like that. It's like just don't do it.
Yes.
So my practice when I leave offerings has more and more evolved into a place of I will leave water.
Hmm.
I won't even leave my tears if I can help it. Like I do because salt,
Yeah.
right? The land doesn't need any more of that. Um, you can't leave food because you don't know how you're disrupting the local flora and fauna with your food offering. It might be poisonous, and you can be innocent, but you won't know. What I found though is if you must leave hair for whatever reason, and we're all adults, so okay, taking tiny, tiny, tiny little snippets. I mean little millimeter, couple millimeter snippets. Um, you can leave them because that's small enough that it's not going to hurt, but just a little bit even then, just the tiniest little shaving um, is probably going to be okay. But this is my point to say, and I really can't say this loud enough. Please stop stacking rocks. Please, 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 for all, just stop stacking the rocks. It's not good for the environment. It's not useful. And I will tell you that the local deities aren't going to be thrilled with you stacking rocks. They have things there for a reason, and you're not part of the local structure, infrastructure, if you will. So you're an interloper coming in, moving things around, and that's not going to be seen well. So,
And this is the sort of thing that the book is full of. Things you wouldn't necessarily think of if you didn't have these experiences. Wonderful techniques, wonderful stories of your travels. It's a wonderful book. You can find it at CorellianPublishing.com. You can pre-order it for $14.99. It will be arriving, as mentioned, in August. And it's a wonderful book. And we're almost at the end of our time. Would you like to tell people how they can find out more about you, how they could contact you, etc.?
absolutely. And to answer one question that did come up in a couple of questions that came up in the Q&A, yes, the book will be available on Kindle in all electronic forms. And coin offerings, I also don't recommend them either. It's metal. You're breaking down to this thing. I understand why you might want to do it, but maybe not so much. Coin in a fountain, they're harvesting that and using that for taking care of things. So you could probably do that, but not a well, a sacred well or anything like that. Exactly, earth and animal friendly. You can always find me online at lisamcsherry.com. It's my name, it's my website. Everything about me is there. I've got a blog. You can sign up for my newsletter, which I try not to duplicate any content from anywhere else. And I will always announce where I'm going to be in my appearances, such as today.
This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. I'm so glad to see you again after all these years.
Yes, indeed. And we were reminiscing before we came on camera about meeting at the St. Louis Pagan Picnic in 2002 or thereabout.
Somewhere around there. Turn
Yeah.
of the century, right after the turn of the century.
It always gets my attention when I use that phrase.
Yeah, I love it.
But we always close with a prayer. So we will have that. And thank you again so much. And thank everyone who has joined us and watched. I love you all. And Divine Mother Goddess, Divine Father God, beloved ancestors, we ask you to be with us as we go forward and to help us to appreciate the world around us, to be open to the myriad experiences that world affords us, and to travel lightly through it, making better the places that we step onto, and bringing good energy with us. Beloved Mother Goddess, beloved Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you with great love and with respect, knowing you're always with us, but from respect. We thank you for your presence, and may you be blessed now and always. And thank you, Lisa, and thank you everyone for joining us. I love you all. I love this time spent with you, and may you be blessed now and always.